Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Apples Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast, the podcast you come to when you're finally ready to take fantasy hockey seriously. My name is Groot Nibbelink. I'm the creator of Apples Ginos, originator of the Zero G Draft Strategy. In this episode, Blake and I are going to talk about some of the biggest hot shots and have-nots of the last couple of weeks. Let's get it. And of course, I have your friend and my best friend. It's Blake Creamer, everybody. Blake, how are we feeling tonight?
Together again, and it feels right. Thank you, Nathan. I feel good, man. Someone asked me today, "Oh, how was your weekend? What did you do this weekend?" I was like, "I don't know." I asked my wife, "I'm like, what did we do?" She's like, "We went to Costco on Saturday." I said, "Yeah, we went to Costco. It was a nice little Saturday there, buddy." What the hell is with Costco? First off, it's like the worst cross section of human beings that there is, right? Like when you're going down an aisle, why would someone put the cart like sideways and make an H? You know what I'm saying? Like what, have you experienced this?
Yeah, well, first off, I think Walmart would like to have a word because they continually. We have a Walmart that's like very close to us, but also like halfway between us and the university in our town here. And so it's all university students all through the university, both semesters.
Okay.
And so they just came back, obviously, for the winter semester. And so, like a fool, I went in on the Saturday when they came back, and it was absolute madness. But yeah, Costco is up there as well. Especially, yeah, there are people who just like obviously go there like once in like every 6 weeks or something and get everything for like
Yeah.
that they're going to eat for the next 6 weeks all in one swoop. And so they have this like monstrosity of a cart. It's like piled high with like a whole children's playground or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, it's an event to go to Costco, that's for sure. Anyway, Blake, I think we should get into some newsies. What do you got for the people?
Newsies! Yeah, buddy, he's just walking over me. He doesn't care. Nate and I are out of practice, folks. All right. We don't do a lot of pods together anymore. We don't finish each other's
Sentences?
Yeah, well, yeah, he said it as a question mark. I meant it as a statement. So you see, we're kind of a little off kilter, but that's fine. Let's get into the newsies, buddy. We got to do it. All right. Shout out to Costco. Shout out to Walmart. Actually, hit us up in the comments. What's worse, folks? Costco or Walmart? Inquiring minds want to know. But we got to talk about the news. All right. Let's talk about the Geekster. Morgan Geeky left Saturday's game, Boston there with a family emergency. So hopefully things are okay there. No other details were given, but he missed Sunday here as well. So best wishes to him. Look like Fraser Minton and Alex Steves. He's a player that plays in the NHL. They're getting a look on the top unit at times, or just an increase in power play time as well with Geeky out. So there you go. Also, Elias Lindholm was a game time decision for Sunday, but ended up playing. So could be battling something there. Just keep an eye on his status moving forward. How about Rusty? Brian Rust, tooting right in our faces, right in our open mouth. All right. I hate late scratches, man. It's the worst. You make all these plans. You're like, okay, this is going to be good. Like, that's fine, Rust. Be sick. But can you let us know before 2 minutes to game time? Damn it. So he was a late scratch on Saturday, missed Sunday as well with the lower body injury. He's day-to-day. Check his status there. Over to Colorado, Mackenzie Blackwood. Sounds like he's getting closer to a return here. Could return on Monday, but if not Monday, probably the game after that. Should be this upcoming week. He missed some time with his injury there, but he's making progress, and that's nice because the Colorado Avalanche definitely need more talent. They just, yeah, they're not good enough at this point. They need to, really step up their game. What the hell? What an absolute wagon the Avs are this year, aren't they, Nate?
Unbelievable. That's yeah, even without Landeskog, Taves, Blackwood, like it just doesn't matter. They've dropped a couple games here in the new year, but like literally that's like the worst point of their season.
Yeah, you got like the best players in the world in their prime, and they're all together. It's just crazy stuff. So I love watching the Avs. I'm thinking about moving over to, a Colorado Avalanche fan as opposed to a Canucks fan. I think I've taken this as far as it can go, Nathan. So I don't know. Is there any Avs fans out there? Is there an application process? Like what's the situation there? Because I'm interested in that. Anyways, again, hit us up in the comments. Let's move over to your Vancouver Canucks. Thatcher Demko placed on IR in the most unsurprising news I've ever heard in my life. He wasn't able to finish the Canucks last game there against the Leafs. Being on IR means he's going to be out the next 4 games at least. So if you want to take a ride with the shootout legend, Kevin Lankinen. All right, Kevin Lankinen. All right, he's great. Okay, Canucks not. Okay, but it's not a terrible goalie to add for volume if you're looking for some starts, and he might give you some good rate stats too. So I think Lankinen is reasonable as a 0G target this week. Let's move over to Philly. They're quite the fellas. Travis Konechny, Connect 4, dealing with a minor issue, but he was trending to get back into the lineup here this week. But then in practice today, I believe he took a shot off the knee that sort of it gave him a dead leg, is what Rick Tocchet said. So it kind of hit a nerve there, and he lost feeling in his leg. So I don't know. His status for Monday is in question, but I don't know. My gut tells me that Konechny's going to play, and I hope he does. But he's day-to-day for now. Let's talk about the Washington Capitals. Tommy Wilson, he missed the entire week. They had a perfect week, and Tom Wilson just went to take a break. I don't know what's going on there, but he missed Sunday's game as well with his lower body injury, but he is eligible to return anytime, so it could be as soon as next game. That's good stuff. It just needs to be cleared for full contact. So all the best to Tommy Wilson, probably the best-looking player in the entire league. Nathan, you concur with this?
I think he's at least top 3. Like Roman Yossi might have something to say about that.
Roman
there are a few
Yossi,
other
what a pull.
guys, but yeah, he's top 3.
You know who's kind of underrated? Ryan Lomberg. He's kind of doing it for me. I don't know. The long hair,
greasy hair, yeah.
Yeah. Is it flipping it around? I don't know. I don't know. Shout out to Ryan Lomberg. Very attractive man. All right. Let's talk about the Kraken. They've been released. I guess they are. They're doing a hell of a lot better than the Canucks. But Jordan Eberle missed his second straight game here for the Kraken, but he sounds like he's going to travel with the team on the upcoming road trip. So it could be an option. He's had a really nice season under the hood, and he's putting some numbers on the board. So could do a lot worse than Eberle as a stream if you're looking for a Kraken player. Over to Minnesota. Joel Eriksson Ek still dealing with a lower body injury. He's day-to-day. And it was Ryan Hartman who joined Power Play 1. That's what we call plum deployment, folks, over there in Minnesota. So they have had, Tarasenko on Power Play 1 before, but it's just a good data point, right? If Jeek misses some more time, I think Hartman's a really nice add. Like, Hartman's a guy we like over here at AG, isn't he, Nate?
Yeah. Whenever he gets an opportunity for an extended period of time, he tends to do something with it. So, yeah, the problem has been getting that extended period of time. But definitely he's a guy who always has, like, solid peripherals, and when he gets a chance to play with elite players, he'll give you a little bit of something.
Yeah, he's an absolute dingus to boot. So there you go. Yeah, another attractive man, actually. I follow the Minnesota Wild because I love Quinn Hughes still. I can't quit the man. And they have a thing at the end of their games where they put a special hat on, like it's like this weird Crocodile Dundee hat. And yeah, Hartman, he's a bit greasy. I don't know. He maybe he's superstitious. I don't know if he's showering currently with Minnesota playing so well, but I hope that he doesn't contract athlete's foot or any other kind of weird. Where am I going with this? I don't know. Let's talk about Anaheim. We got to talk about Troy Terry. Sounds like he is going to return potentially once the Ducks are finished their current road trip, which the soonest he could probably play would be Tuesday. So that would be nice if he does get back in. The Ducks are reeling. The Ducks are – it's been really rough. We get lots of questions about these Ducks here. And I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint. I think there was some overachievement, certainly at the beginning of the year, some excitement because they have a good offensive team. But I think they need to play on the quote-unquote other side of the puck, don't they, Nathan?
Yep. And we've got a little bit of a segment coming up for that, so we will dig in even more. Stay tuned.
Love that. What a cliffhanger. Oh my God. This guy's upping he's upping our average watch rate here on YouTube. It's amazing with comments like that. In Calgary, Blake Coleman day-to-day with an upper body injury. Carter Hart in Vegas week to week. The dream is over. Oh God. Carter Hart, we hardly knew ye. All right, carry on. You got Schmid, you got Hill. Sounds like he's trending to, I don't know, actually, I should have checked this. Do you think he's coming back this week, upcoming here, Nate, or is it he's still kind of like a week and a bit away?
I didn't see anything confirmed. I did see that the first time
He's
anyone talked
skating.
about him anyway, being on the ice, he wasn't in regular practice, but being on the ice, taking shots, doing stuff, was on Thursday last week.
Mm-hmm.
So usually with goalies, there's a bit of a process to kind of get them comfortable again. I haven't seen anything to suggest that he's going to be back this fast, but yeah, stay tuned on that one because yeah, when he's back, that will definitely be a pretty big difference maker for the Vegas Golden Knights, I think.
Yep, absolutely. Let's move over to New Jersey here. We got some drama with Big Dougie. Dougie Hamilton, he was healthy scratched here in Sunday's game, and it looks like things are becoming untenable there. What do you think, Nate? Like, what do you think's going on with Dougie Hamilton, first off? And then what do you think's going to happen with him? And what would it take for him to kind of become fantasy relevant again with the Devils or with another team?
I think it's pretty clear at this point that the Devils really want him to just waive his clause and go wherever it is they can get the best deal for him, and they're
Yep.
kind of putting pressure on him the only way they know how. Yeah, I think it's a little kind of slimy. To be quite honest, you gave him the no trade clause and he's using it, and so why are you feeling some type of way if he doesn't want to uproot his whole life and move somewhere when you gave him that? And they're pretty clearly not putting him in a position to do what he's best at. And to some extent, you know, they have some young offensive talent there with Luke Hughes and with Shimon Nemec. Nemec hasn't really outperformed Hamilton in any metric that I can get my hands on. Hamilton is still tilts the ice at even strength. He's not like a superior defensive defenseman, but in terms of like the shot share, the expected goal share, the scoring chance for share, like all that stuff still big time in Hamilton's favor. And actually, he's one of the better New Jersey defensemen on the year in those metrics. So yeah, I think it's pretty much just a play by the team to try to put some pressure on him to get himself to get Hamilton to waive his clause and get out of there. I mean, at this point, I am really just hoping that he does find somewhere that he's willing to go. It sounds like Friedman reported that over, I think it was on Saturday in the live broadcast, he reported that he blocked a trade to go to San Jose over the summer. And I wish that had happened because that would be
Yeah.
super fun right
Yeah,
now
totally.
to see him there. Maybe he'd rethink that with the way that the Sharks are going right now. But yeah, I think there's definitely more to come there because I don't think this is going away anytime soon. For fantasy purposes, I just don't think he can roster a guy who might get scratched in any given game, and I don't think this is a one-off if they feel like this is still the way to put pressure on him, and they very well might. I just hate to see it because I think it's a little slimy.
Yep. No, I agree with all that. I think it's good analysis. Stay tuned, folks. I don't know. I'd love to hold on to Dougie if I can. I've seen him dropped in a couple spots, but yeah, I mean, if he's getting healthy scratched and we don't know what's happening, like, yeah, that's a tough hold. So, yeah, see what you can do there. Let's move over to Edmonton again. Tristan Jarry sounds like he could return this week, and I think could be a real difference maker for you and your fantasy squads. Obviously, the Oilers have a big week, which Nate talked about there, 5-game week. Who's the odd man out, do you think, Nate? Is it going to be Ingram or is it going to be Picard?
I think Ingram has actually played decently well when he's been in there. He's got an 892, but it's not like Picard has set the world on fire. Like there were times earlier in the year where they're pretty sure he was going to be out of a job. He's got an 871 on the season. He's been maybe a little bit better as of late, his last few starts, but the whole team has been a lot better as of late as well. So,
Yep.
yeah, I would give the edge to Ingram personally, but I can't pretend to be in the mind of the management there in Edmonton.
We can always pretend, Nate. All right. That's what we do, right? We fake it until we do or don't make it. I'm still waiting. I am going to make it, though, at some point here. I don't know. I'm fingers crossed. Spectacles, testicles, wallet, and watch. I don't know where I'm going with that. All right. And lastly, Stolar's over in Toronto. He's getting better. He's going to join the team for the upcoming 4-game road trip. Could potentially play, so that's going to be an interesting goalie situation there in Toronto with Wall playing really good, getting a couple shutties. So there you go. But that's it for the news, Nathan. Let's get into these hot shots.
All right, let's do it. Right off the top, Braden Point / everyone on Tampa Bay basically at the moment. Tampa's in, what is it, a 8-game win streak at the moment.
Yep.
Nikita Kucherov, like, you have to start there, I guess. 5 goals, 16 points in his last 5. Braden Point is probably more interesting to fantasy managers because he was having such a tough year up until basically the new year here. Now he's got 8 points in his last 5. His average time on ice is just over 16 minutes. I'm not reading too much into that. There were a couple of big time blowout games where he had multiple points, and then they obviously just let the bottom 6 kind of run out the rest of the game. So I'm not reading too much into that. But it is something that they have been changing up the lines and doing some different stuff. And Braden Point's minutes are down relative to some of the previous seasons where he had these big numbers. So he is still playing with Kucherov. He's obviously still on the top power play, but the minutes are actually a bit down. And why wouldn't they when they're running this hot? I do think, when the chips are down, when they're in tighter games, they're not just trying to close games out all the time. At Braden Point, his minutes will go up in those kind of games. So I don't think it's something to get too worried about, but I do think his average time on ice on the season will look a little worse than it has in years past. So maybe shave a little bit off what you expected for him at the beginning of the year. That being said, this is a guy who ranks 7th in the league in individual expected goals for per 60 on the season and 13th in on-ice expected goals for per 60. I got a lot of time for Braden Point rest of season still, even with a slightly reduced time on ice count. And the other guys there all doing their piece as well. Hagel's got 8 points in the last 5. Gensel's got 6. Sorelli's got 5. Darren Radish has 10. Like, that train just continues. It's been a wild ride for basically everybody in Tampa over the last little bit. It'll obviously cool down and it'll settle, but I don't see a reason to believe at this point that Tampa can't be a top team in the East for the rest of the season. At some point here, they're going to get Hedman back. They're going to start to get even healthier, and that should mean even better things for the team overall, and probably even some better things for some of their forwards with Hedman being a puck mover on the back end. So overall, I just think it's all good signs for Tampa at the moment. Pretty obviously not, groundbreaking analysis there with them on an 8-game win streak, but I did want to highlight Braden Point specifically because of the way his season started and because how good those underlying metrics look, especially when you look at it over the course of the season.
Yep, for sure. I think obviously it's nice to give Cooch a little shout out. Like, this guy is unbelievable. He's every bit as good as as you think he is, right? He was a top 5 pick, top 3 pick probably for fantasy, and he's really doing that. I still think Braden Point is the ultimate buy low. Like, this guy is getting it done at even strength, right? But the power play still sucks. It still sucks for Braden Point. He only has 6 power play points on the year. That's crazy stuff. And Tampa Bay's power play is getting better, right? They're kind of middling in terms of expected goals for per 60, which is interesting, but the numbers are coming up. Their power play in the last 5 games has been a lot better, right? They're getting the job done. And I would say too, about his ice time, I think at least in the last 5 games here, there was 2 blowouts in there, right? There was a 7-3 win against San Jose, 7-2 win against Philly, where he played like 14 minutes and 13 minutes. So that's really affecting the 5-game sample that we're looking at. I just think this is a guy, his shooting percentage is way lower than it normally is. Like, he's shooting 13% on the year. He's averages over the last 3 seasons, he's had 21%, 20%, 22%, and he's shooting 13 here this year. So that's going to come up. I think his performance on the power play is going to get a lot better. I think he's the ultimate buy low, and I'm really, really interested in Braden Point. This is a guy that complements Kucherov so well with his rush play. Like, Braden Point is an amazing rusher, zone entries, all that stuff. I love it. So, yeah, and shout out to Tampa. I mean, damn, Darren Radish, this guy, this is one of the waiver wire pickups of the year for sure. We dabbled with Darren Radish last year, didn't we, Nate? Like, he spent some time on Power Play 1. We're like, okay, sure. Yeah, we'll take a ride. Like, it didn't really hit, but, this guy's got an absolute bomb. Like, he's got a legitimate slap shot. It's really good, and I feel like they've really figured out how to sort of incorporate him into the power play there. So I think things could get even better for Tampa Bay. It's a little bit scary, but I think this is a really good team coming out of the East.
Yeah, I think they're terrific. I do think it's kind of interesting, the interplay between Radish and Point, particularly on that power play where a lot of plays were designed for Point, I think, like in that kind of Sam Reinhart bumper spot, get him open, Kucherov doing his thing. Now it's get Radish open at the point for that bomb, and that kind of necessitates that Point isn't involved as much in those plays because the puck's just being blasted past him at 100 miles an hour. So that's kind of an interesting point just in how they're get into biz on the power play. But that could obviously change up a little bit as teams get a little bit more used to having to take away Radish. That should theoretically open up Point in the middle of the ice a little bit more. So I think you're right to say that Point can get more involved on the power play moving forward. I don't know if you can buy low on him anymore, though. It's been a nice little run for him. I think people are hanging on to him at this point. We will see. Let's head over to Washington, though. Justin Sordiff, who did actually leave the game here tonight, I think he took a puck to the face, so we saw. So hopefully he's no worse for the wear, or at least little worse for the wear, and he's able to come back soon. Him and Connor McMichael really got to biz. Obviously, the 5-point night there for Sordiff on Monday, opening people's fantasy weeks. If people streamed him in some deeper leagues, like I did, they benefited from that. So that was fun to see. In a 5-game sample, he's got 8 points in total. McMichael has 6. McMichael's been getting 19.5 minutes on a night and sort of is up over 17, and that seemed to keep climbing basically throughout this week before the game here tonight, where obviously he left with the injury. Sort of 36th individual expected goals for per 60, 97th on ice expected goals for per 60, whereas McMichael's down at 145th and 180th respectively. So sort of seems to be the guy who's actually generating the chances a little bit more. He's a bit more of a shooter. McMichael getting a few extra minutes there. I think there's some interest here. I am not like ready to label these guys as like breakout stars for the rest of the season. We obviously had a stretch from McMichael already last year, more towards the beginning of the season, where he really did have a really nice stretch and the underlyings actually looked pretty good. And then for whatever reason, it just went away and he was never able to pick it up again. He couldn't put the pieces back together. And so maybe it's a bit about line mates. You know, he was playing on a line with Sordiff and Ryan Leonard in the game here tonight before Sordiff left, and that's obviously a pretty fun kind of kid-style line where these guys obviously have a lot of energy and a lot of get up and go. But what are you thinking about these two moving forward here, Blake? I'd like to hear your opinion.
I mean, to me, it's a good data point, right? We had Protas and we had Wilson out for the week, basically. I mean, Protas came back for the last 2 games. But for the first 2 games of the week, Justin Sordiff and Ryan Leonard and Connor McMichael were the second line with a bullet. That was the second line, and Ryan Leonard had some power play 1. So they just got an increase in opportunity, and they really made good on it. Like, obviously, these 5-game numbers here, they're totally boosted by one massive game that they had. Like, McMichael had a 4-assist game, sort of had 5 points in that game. It's just nice to see it. What it says to me is like the future is really bright in Washington. Like, they also have what's Lane Hudson's brother's name? Cole Hudson. Damn. Like, they got him in the wings. Like, this team is going to be good to go. Once Alexander Ovechkin sort of sails off into the sunset. They got some really nice pieces. They got kind of a prime Wilson going. They got a really good puck rusher in Protas. I really like Washington, but in terms of these 2 players, I think we're still looking, especially with Sordiff, we're still looking at a streamer level player. McMichael is still a streamer level player, but I think McMichael is kind of more of a streamer with benefits. I think that is a potential player that, if the deployment continues to kind of bump up, if he's able to continue to kind of bury some of his chances, like, this is a guy that's been really inefficient this season in terms of his shooting. Right? Like, he had a great season last year with 26 goals on 15% shooting. This year he's shooting 6.7. Right? So that's a big difference. It's a young player. It makes some sense. But I'm very interested in Connor McMichael. I think he's a burner. He's a great skater, good play driver, and access to Ryan Leonard. If they keep that line together as a third line, to me, that is an excellent third line that can absolutely do some damage at even strength. So, yeah, I'm interested in both players. I think Connor McMichael's the one I'm really interested in.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see for sure when Pierre-Luc Dubois comes back, what that does to everything, basically up and down the lineup. He's been out for so long, it's easy to forget, but he is working his way back. Might be a little while before he's back, but definitely something to keep an eye on there in Washington as well. Let's head over to Boston, where Marat Kuznetsov and Fraser Minton are popping off, ? So in the game here today, 1-0 win against the Penguins. Neither of them got anything, but prior to that, Kuznetsov had 8 points in the previous 5 games, and Minton had 7 points in the last 5 games. Kuznetsov, not much of a shooter, 243rd shots per 60, 152 individual expected goals for per 60, 202 on ice expected goals for per 60. Minton shooting it a little bit more, 65th shots per 60, 47th individual expected goals for per 60, and 95th in on ice expected goals for per 60. I am pretty uninterested still in both of these guys. So Kuznetsov did get on this line with Lindholm and Pasternak in the game here today. Was not on the top power play. It was middle stat up there with Saka, Pasternak, and Lindholm. I am struggling to get excited about either of these players. Boston had obviously that hilarious, what was it, 10-2 game against the
Crazy
Rangers
stuff.
on
Yep.
Follow that up with a 1 goal effort that actually gets them a W here. Shout out Junis Korpisalo for shutting out the Penguins. But yeah, I just can't get interested if I really like. Even if I squint on the season, these numbers are still pretty horrific for both players, in the 300s in shots per 60, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they're getting a bunch of ice time, maybe in like a 16-team league, you could try to stream somebody who's getting some Pasternak exposure, whoever that might be. But I don't know, Blake. Do you see something more here with these two guys?
Not right now. But again, it reminds me very much of what we just talked about with Sordiff and McMichael. It's a good data point. You got guys that can step up in the lineup. You have Geeky out, so someone needs to step up. You have Lindholm, he had to leave a game there. So it's nice to see that Kuznetsov and Minton can step in and actually get stuff done. Am I counting on it for fantasy? Hell no. Right. Not at this point. I think, again, nice data point. These are young players. Like Kuznetsov's 23, Minton's 21. Damn, they come in and have these big games. And Minton is probably the player I'm interested in a little bit more if I had to choose one of them, just because, yeah, he's driving play a little bit more, right? He shoots more, he generates some offense chances and shots for himself. So I think he's probably a better shooter, right? And he'll kind of be on the puck a little bit more. But yeah, it's a nice thing to see. Even this last game here, Minton, he had almost 5 minutes on the power play. So if they're going to give Minton 5 minutes on the power play with Pasta, like, yeah, I'll take a ride. I think as a streamer for Boston, that makes a lot of sense. But just don't expect, like big games like that 3-point game. He did have a 2-goal game against Vancouver, a 2-assist game against Edmonton on New Year's Eve. Like, I just do not expect that, right? They're not at that level of their development to do that consistently.
Agreed there. The next 3 players, I think, all have some similarities, and I think it's going to be kind of interesting to compare and contrast. So I'll name them off here. James Van Riemsdyk, Lawson Krause, Alexander Texier. Basically kind of all like third wheeling in a sense. JVR is up on the Detroit top power play as of now. They did experiment with the 5 forward power play with Patrick Kane up there, still with JVR on it, but with Patrick Kane up there. But went away again from that pretty quickly. So JVR on the top power play in place of Patrick Kane. And obviously, you know what JVR is there to do. He's there to go to the front of the net, tip pucks, bang them in, do that kind of stuff around the net. He has 7 points in his last 5 games. In the last couple of games, he's gotten himself up 1639, 1647 in terms of the time on ice. So a little bit more time on ice as of late. He's never going to have like tremendous underlying numbers, but this is a guy who can still be valuable as a net front player. You could think of him as somewhat similar to what Stefan Nason did for the Devils on a good power play there last year. Not so much this year, obviously, but last year. So I think James Van Riemsdyk can have some sort of similar value there. Lawson Krause has been playing on a line with Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz and has been pretty successful there over the last 5 games here. For Krause, he's up at 2 goals and 6 points, 17 and a half minutes average time on ice. The shots are still not there, 313th in shots per 60, 131st in on ice expected goals for per 60. And then Texier has 4 goals, including a hat trick in the last 5 games, 6 points, 1605 average time on ice, 71st individual expected goals for per 60, 65th in on ice expected goals for per 60, playing there with Suzuki and Caulfield on the top line. The last 2 games over 17 minutes time on ice. So yeah, talk to me about these 3. Maybe we'll do a little ranking, contrast, compare. What do you got for me, Blake?
Oof, ranking JVR, Krause, and Texier. Sheesh.
Let's do it.
That's where we're at. Okay, I'm here for it. I streamed in Krause this week in 3 spots, and he had a really, really nice week for Utah. So I got some love for him. But yeah, I mean, JVR, I like that. The fact that they're even putting him on power play 1, even if they take him off, says to me like, yeah, they value this guy as an offensive player and they're trying to put him in offensive positions. So I'm here for that. I mean, this is a guy that, his scoring chances for, especially in the last 5 games, pretty damn good. On the season, he's 5th overall in individual scoring chances for per 60, according to Natural Stat Trick. That's no joke, right? Like that's pretty damn good, albeit in like limited minutes, right? Just over 12 minutes. But I think you could do a lot worse than JVR, but just he's in that mold of like a Zach Hyman, right? But a really poor man, Zach Hyman. He's not Zach Hyman, right? But this is a guy that gets all his work done in front of the net. He's really good in front of the net, banging home rebounds. That's why he has like those high scoring chances for, right? Lawson Krause, I have some what am I going to say? I was going to say tolerance, and then I was going to say patience. I'm like, no, that's making it sound like Krause is really bad. I got some love for Lawson Krause in the last little bit here, just because he has that peripheral floor that it's kind of a safe pick, right? I mean, this guy has 122 hits in 46 games already. Damn. He's a mega beefer, right? And he's playing on the top line with Schmaltz and Keller. So I like that as well. What I don't like is he played 11 minutes, 33 seconds in this last game here. So yeah, when they need a goal, Krause is riding the bench, right? He's not getting off the bench. So it's not a great spot. Whereas a guy like JVR, yeah, he's an offensive player. They might put him out there, right? So that said, I think, yeah, Krause is fine. He's not getting any power play time. Texier is an interesting piece as well. I love he's getting some top line deployment there. I'm a big fan of Nick Suzuki now, Nate. I don't know if you knew this, but like, yeah, I'm actually a fan of the man. And we both love Cole Caulfield just for his, his shot generation. He's crazy and he's just an elite sniper. So it's nice to see this guy have some success. He's put in a position to succeed, an offensive position, and he's starting to do something with it. So yeah, I think if I had to rank them, I'd probably go, oh God. I'd probably go Texier, Krause, JVR. That's how I'm rolling there. I don't know. What are you doing?
Yeah, I think like the obvious default answer is like whoever's schedule fits with your team best for next
I should
week.
have said that, but yes.
That's the real answer. But for the purposes of the discussion, I think you're right. I think I would rank them the same way right now. I think the Canadians really want to have a second line, and they've been trying to get there with Kapanen, Slavkovsky, and Demidov, and they've had some success there. So I think that there's actually a decent chance. Texier's underlines are not bad. 103rd shots per 60, 71st individual expected goals for per 60, and 65th and on ice expected goals for per 60.
Yep.
Pretty solid stuff over this 5-game stretch. It is a 5-game stretch. Texier has obviously bounced around the league a bit, and so that part makes you think that it could go away and go away pretty fast. But we're talking about guys who are streamable level players anyway. I want to take the chance that this could be a spot where Texier can make it stick. I have pretty much zero faith, quite honestly, that Lawson Krause is going to stick around on that top line for much more of the season. And I have even less faith that JVR is going to keep Patrick Kane off the top power play for more than, the next 3 or 4 games there in Detroit. So that's where I'm at. I think I agree with your rankings wholeheartedly for once.
For once? Oh, I'm just catching shade here. What are you doing? All right. Tell your friends about me, Nathan.
All right, let's head over to Carolina and pick up K'Andre Miller, who's got a couple goals and 6 points in his last 5, 22 and a half minutes average time on ice. 21st in on ice, expected goals for per 60 is the operative number that I'm looking at with K'Andre Miller, 49th in that metric on the season. He's on a 9-goal, 47-point pace on the season. I tend to think in most cases that, this isn't a power play 1 guy. He's just getting hot at the right time. Not even a power play 2 guy, really. A lot of times for Carolina, they've got some other guys who can do that. So he is just kind of around it, and obviously Carolina's a good team. So K'Andre Miller, is he trending more towards a guy that you're actually going to hold for the rest of the season at this point, Blake? Let's say like a 12 team, like the APL settings. Is he a guy that you're hanging on to at this point, or is he still solidly in that streamer tier for you?
Nah, I'm not hanging on to Miller. But I'm it's not an automatic like get the hell out of my sight. Like, yeah, he's like you said, he's hanging around it. He's hanging around being rosterable for a year, right? As kind of your 4th or 5th defenseman. And that's fine. Like, what a difference being on Carolina is compared to being on New York. Like this guy was getting caved in last year in terms of Corsi for percentage when he it was a really bad year as well for Keandre Miller. Like he played really bad and the team played really bad and he just got absolutely obliterated. Well, right now, I mean, his pairing with Sean Walker, they have a 61% expected goals for percentage. Damn. Like, and that's, that's Carolina does that, right? They suppress a lot of things like expected goals against, right? Just with their play style. But I think that, the analytics team there in Carolina, they recognize something in Miller that he could sort of fit into their style. And I think he absolutely has. So I think it's a slam dunk for them in terms of just locking up a player that is good in reality and is going to help them kind of get where they want to go. He's pacing for 47 points right now. I don't think he gets to 47 points. I think a 40-point year for Keandre Miller, that's an absolute success, right? Plus he's going to get 100 hits, 100 blocks. That'll play, right? He's definitely a rosterable in a Cats league. I think you should have him in a Cats league. I think he's a great streamer. If you're looking for D, sometimes defensemen are easier to get into your lineup on those, off nights or even the busy nights than forwards. So I'll take a ride with him if Carolina has a good schedule, but I'm not expecting a 47-point pace. I'm expecting a 35 to 40-point pace.
Yeah, can't argue with any of that from my side. I think he's just a nice piece to stream in. When he's hot, you hang on. As soon as it goes south, you let him loose.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Patreon plug here for you. Supporter tier, $2 a month, gets you on the APL waitlist. $8 tier gets you on that waitlist. Also gets you access to patron-only Discord channels and live shows. We'll have another one for you here in January. Gets you access to the show notes, including the show notes for this show right here. Also gets you access to the Apples and Ginos player evaluation tool, in which you can look at Dougie Hamilton's smiling face and think of better times. You can also see that he's second amongst all defensemen in both shots per 60 and individual scoring chances for per 60 over the last 5 games before getting scratched here today. So, yeah, poor Dougie Hamilton. I do actually hope for the best for him. Seems like just a guy who's gotten maligned pretty unfairly in my estimation at a few different stops now. So hopefully things go better for him and he finds a new home. I think, if New Jersey wants to make a trade, I think the Leafs would send Morgan Riley over there. So maybe they want a left-handed D. We could have some talks. So.
I would love to see him on Toronto. That'd be incredible.
That would be great. All right, let's head over to the have-nots. We got to talk about Filip Forsberg. Now, Forsberg did pick up a point in the game here today, but prior to that, he had gone 5 straight games without a point. Actually, it might have even been more than that. 19 minutes a night still, but 241st shots per 60, 240 individual expected goals for per 60, 187 on ice expected goals for per 60. Those are not numbers that we typically associate with Filip Forsberg. On the season, he's still 29th in shots per 60 and 33rd in individual expected goals for per 60. So what do we make of this recent stretch from Filip Forsberg? Is he playing through injury? Is it, Nashville, the team around him? What can we make of this situation with Filip Forsberg here, Blake?
I think a lot of it is the team around him. Honestly, like the Predators have had a little bit more success as of late, and I love to see it because I love a lot of these players, especially Stamkos. Like I don't want him to go out like this. I'm glad that Stamkos is starting to put the biscuit in the basket, but I just feel like the play style there is still it doesn't match what the system they're trying to do, right? Like these guys are slow. They need to be puck possession. And I feel like, again, they're still trying to be a rush team when they don't have the personnel to do that. Also, one of the things with Filip Forsberg, and I talked about this a lot in the offseason, and to me, it's still potentially an issue, is his line is 3 right-handers. So I don't know, it's like it to me, like if you played hockey before, like it's, if you got 3 guys with this, like shooting the same handed, like you can play that in a certain way defensively, like get these guys on their backhands where it's going to disrupt their offense. And I think like I've seen a few highlights, I've seen some games even where I feel like that's kind of happening to some degree. So I don't know. I think there's something to that. And you've got Luke Evangelista now playing on the line there. So it's Luke Evangelista, Ryan O'Reilly, and Filip Forsberg. Like Evangelista's had a nice little resurgence here. Not a resurgence, is surgence a word? Surge. Now he's having a nice little surge, where he's kind of shooting the puck a little bit. But yeah, all this to say, it is a little bit concerning that Philip Forsberg is not shooting, because that's something that he's known for. That's something that we usually count on him to do. But it has been a bad stretch of 5 games here. But on the season, he's 29th overall in shots goal per 60. So he's still doing the thing. It has been a little bit of a weird stretch, but they've been getting some good results. So I don't think anyone's going to really care too much. I'm not overly concerned, I guess is a long way to say that. But yeah, if we see another 5 games where he's kind of hovering around the 240 mark of shots to go per 60, now I'm starting to get a little bit concerned.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I'm willing to give him some leash here, basically, because of how good his underlings were for such a long time. Wasn't getting rewarded for them. Now his underlings have fallen off, and obviously still not getting rewarded for that. I think that, they did try a new situation here with Eric Hollis centering him and Stamkos. Honestly, that is pretty much worse in my estimation. But yeah, he got an assist today, so maybe
You'll
things
love to
are.
see it.
It was on the power play, so you can't even claim that it was because of that. All that to say, I'm not ready to give up on Forsberg yet. I kind of agree. Let's see another 5-game sample here and reconvene. I think these guys at the top of the lineup know he isn't giving you what you wanted when you drafted him this year, but I do think this is a guy who's just been consistent, at least in the underlings, even if the production hasn't always been there consistently. I think that is more to do, like historically at least, maybe not in this season, but historically at least more to do with the situation rather than with the player. So I think that I'm willing to give him some leash here for sure. Let's head over to Colorado, where amidst Colorado being absolutely nuclear, Nuke himself, Valery Nichushkin, has not done much as of late. Did you like that one?
Oh, I don't like it. I love it.
That was on the spot, off the dome. No points in the last 5 for Nichushkin. Just about 19 minutes a night, so it's not a nice time issue. 296th in shots per 60, 113 individual expected goals for per 60. Still up at 29th in on ice expected goals for per 60. The Avs were running Nichushkin on the Nelson Colton line, which isn't like a bad place to be by any stretch. He was on the top power play for a bit, then bumped down in favor of Arturi Lehkonen most recently. So again, you're kind of left with this Willie Won't-y power play 2, line 2 kind of situation for Nichushkin, and the results aren't there really recently or really on the season. 25 goal, 59 point pace on the season for Nichushkin. Where are we at with Nichushkin? Are you starting to think of him as trending more towards the back end, even streamer area of your lineup?
Potentially. I'm not dropping Nichushkin. I still think he's a hold, but yeah, it's icky. It's a little bit icky if you got Nichushkin, because we know what a beast this guy can be. And I think Colorado is so strange, like the absolute wagon that they are at even strength, but their power play, and I've talked about it a lot, and I'm still going to talk about it. They're 28th overall in the league in conversion, and they don't have Valery Nichushkin on it. So I don't know. I feel like I'm digging in on some of his even strength numbers here, Valery Nichushkin. They're pretty good. They're pretty good across the board, very comparable to what he's done in the past. Even his on-ice shooting percentage, his IPP is even higher than it has been at even strength. So, and he's got a great line. Like, he's playing with Lehkonen and Nelson on his second line there. Like, yes, please. Nelson and Colton now, they did in this last game. But I think it's really power play for Nuke to get back to a level where we're like, this guy's a must roster. Like, he's, in the 70-point range. He's got to get on power play 1. And they have to start featuring him again the way they did last year. Like, if you remember back to last year, Ross Colton, when he got on power play 1, he popped for like a crap ton of goals. Nichushkin, when he was on power play 1, popped for a bunch of goals. This year, something's different about that power play. I can't put my finger on it, but the expected goals are down as well for the Avalanche with the power play. So I don't know. I feel like, what's the harm in getting Nichushkin up there, or put Colton up there, put somebody else up there and make some changes to that personnel. But, that said, I still think Nichushkin should be a 35 kind of guy, 35 goals, 35 assists. I think that's kind of where I'd like to see him. And I think he's absolutely capable of doing that. And he's also really good peripherally, usually. So it's just, I think for him to really hit this year, we need him to see him on power play 1. If not, I think we're looking at a 55 to 60 point Nuke.
Yeah, I think Nichushkin probably needs power play one, but they're featuring some different things with that power play for sure.
Mhm.
Nelson being a shooter on the far side.
He's been
When
great.
Colton was popping off, he was doing it more from the bumper slot, like just opposite McKinnon as a left-handed shot. Nichushkin's a right-handed shot, so that's not really an option for him. He has to be more of a net front guy, and have just kind of defaulted. It feels like to using Lehkonen there more often than not. I honestly kind of feel like Lehkonen is a bit better of a net front banger crasher type, whereas Nichushkin it would probably prefer to be a bit more of a outside, like maybe down low kind of guy. But
Sniper.
that's typically where Natchez is playing now. Natchez goes behind the net, moves around a lot. McKinnon's stationed on the half wall, and then Nelson is on the other side for trying to open up for one timer at different points. So yeah, I think there's a lot of moving pieces right now, and they're trying to figure this thing out. I'm just really not confident right now that Nishushkin's going to be on that top power play. Like, I don't see a path for him to just fit better than a lot of the other pieces currently. Now, injuries can happen, lots of things can change, and he can get hot, and that can all go out the window quickly. And as I've always said about Colorado, if there's one thing we know, it's that the top six and the power play will change. The top guys will be there. Natchez, McKinnon, Makar, we know this. It's all the other guys that will just
Yep.
rotate in and out throughout the course of the season. So he'll be back there at some point, I have no doubt. It's just a matter of will he make it count when he is, and will he make it last for, when it really matters? And that's the real question for me with Nichushkin moving forward. And why, yeah, I think you have to kind of level set with the expectation more where he's at right now as a 60 point pace player, and then hope that he's getting hot at the right times more than expected. Let's move over to Florida. Sam Reinhart, Anton Lundell. Not doing much as of late. Tons of minutes. Reinhardt's over 23 minutes average time on ice in the last 5 games, but just the one goal to show for it. Lundell just the one assist, despite being over 20 minutes a game himself. Reinhardt, 204th shots per 60, 42nd in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, but 166 in individual expected goals, 4 per 60. Both Reinhardt and Lundell in the 300s in on ice expected goals, 4 per 60, which is just putrid. Not something we'd expect from two guys pretty well known for tilting the ice in their favor when out there. I'm curious where you're at. Obviously, we're talking about two different caliber of players here. Reinhardt,
Mhm.
like a second round pick in pretty much every league this year, has really returned value. He's on a 43 goal, 82 point pace, so he's been pretty adequate as a guy you took in the second round. Lundell on a 24 goal, 60 point pace, which is pretty solid for him, and the expectations that have been placed on him with all the injuries, especially to Barkov, obviously, him having to step up into a bigger role this year. But now, this recent stretch where they're cold, and not only are they cold, the underlying numbers, especially the on ice numbers, are really bad. What do you make of this, Blake?
I think it's just the ebbs and flows of a season, right, with Sam Reinhart. But I will say, the loss of Barkov at the beginning of the year, like I feel like that's a big factor, right? Reinhardt is sort of, with just his skill level and some good performances from guys like Lundell and others, Marchand on the team there, have kind of held that boat afloat. But eventually, he's playing with Lundell and Eetu Luostarinen, right? And I think that my feelings on Lundell. I don't think that's a high end talent in terms of offense. I think he's a great player, but I don't think that he's a high end finisher. Luostarinen, definitely not. Right? These are kind of like guys that I think would be better suited on a third line, like a really, really good third line. We saw them with Brad Marchand in the playoffs and how they performed, right? It was ridiculous. But I think you look at the on-ice shooting percentage there with Sam Reinhart in the last little bit, like if it's going to happen, he's the one who's going to have to do it. So if he goes cold, I just don't think that Lundell or Lewis Starnen can really pick up the slack. And I think that's kind of what's happening, right? And this all said too, like Reinhardt's still on an 82-point pace, right? Florida is still Florida, and they still have Matt Tkachuk, who's going to be coming back soon, right? It's that is going to make a big difference, right? Because right now they're very much, I don't want to say a one-line team, but like Reinhardt is one of the guys you key in on. If you're on defense, like that Reinhardt is really one of their main guys that's going to do some damage. So if you can neutralize him, I really don't think that the other players on his line can kind of pick up the slack and get it done. So that's my 2 cents there. That said, like this is a very safe player. I think he's a floor player, a point per game player. Like I said, 82 point pace after this long, like you know what you're getting with him, but we're losing a little bit of the ceiling, I think, with Barkov out.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we've maybe even already seen that on the season. I think Reinhardt's done an admirable job to get to the point that he has on the season in terms of the point pace and the goal production and everything. His underlyings on the season look very good still. I think that, you take Matt Kachuk, Brad Marchand, and Alexander Barkov out of the lineup. They're also missing Seth Jones
Yeah.
and Dmitry Kulikov on the back end. Uvis Belenskis is running the top power play in the last game. Like, this is the state of the Florida Panthers in 2026 right now. But as you mentioned, Kachuk coming back, I think, opens up the roster a lot. Hopefully Marchand isn't out for too long, and when he's back, that adds another dimension. I think Lundell benefits from specifically getting those two wingers back. That really opens up the options that they can just mess around with. Maurice can pick and choose his top end wingers to play with Lundell. That should help him. Reinhardt, I just basically feel like I have no worries with. He'll be back.
Yeah.
I have no concerns even when he goes cold like this. I just refuse to be worried about a guy who's been so good for so long and has shown us he can be good without Barkov, without Kachuk in the lineup already this year. Over to Montreal, Ivan Demidov. He was super hot, now gone cold again. 1 assist in the last 5 games, 17 minutes average time on ice, 342nd in shots per 60, 351 individual expected goals, 4 per 60. 106 in on ice expected goals, 4 per 60. You could argue a chunk of that is just due to being on the top power play there. So, what do we make of this latest stretch for Demidov? He's been playing on that line, as I mentioned previously, with Slavkovsky and Kapanen. For me, I'll start off here and I'll let you rebut as you may there, Blake. But for me, it's just a rookie. I think it's a rookie in the league, and it's a tremendously talented player. He's going to have a terrific season. He's going to be one of the contenders for the Calder Trophy at the end of the year when it's all said and done. But rookies just have more ups and downs than other players. It's just a fact. We've seen it so many times throughout so many seasons. Even the really top end rookies have more ups and downs than almost any other player. It just keeps on coming true every single year. I think that's what we're seeing. I think Demidov will have another great stretch here shortly, and he probably will have another cold stretch later on. Where that leaves you for fantasy, it probably just means you have to evaluate what your risk tolerance is, where you're at in the standings, what you have to do to win your next week, what Montreal's schedule is, all these things. I don't think you have to hang on to Demidov when he's going cold. I would like to, because I think there's every chance that he, has another really hot stretch and he knocks off 8 or 9 points in the next 5 games or something like that. But it's not a player that I feel like you have to hang on to if you're on the fringes and you need to win your week. And Demidov is actually the guy you're looking at as the potential next drop. I don't think you have to hang on to guys like this. I've dropped plenty of players who went on to have great rest of seasons, but for the 2 weeks that remained where they were being pretty terrible, I'm actually pretty happy that I went and got somebody who won me a couple of weeks or helped me win a couple of weeks and got me across the finish line in those weeks, and I ended up in a better spot because of it. So I don't think you have to, beat yourself up even if he does have a great rest of season. That could go as advice for any of these players, obviously, but Demidov is obviously a pretty interesting case because of the upside versus the downside as a rookie there in Montreal.
What the hell am I supposed to say now, Nathan? Damn it. All right. The guy just ate my sandwich. I'm about to take a bite of the sandwich. He grabbed it. He just downed the whole thing and gave me the crusts. What are you doing? Yeah, no, I agree with all that. I think it's a really good point about the rookies there. I mean, this guy's still on a 66-point pace, and he's power play 1, right? And we've seen the proof of concept, like when he's out there on the ice, this guy moves the puck around at an elite level, and he's got really good players to play with. So yeah, it's just going to be up and downs. I'm not really interested in drafting rookies at the best of times. I don't do it. I find they always go too early. I did like Demidov's value this year. I thought it was actually pretty good. Like if you wanted to take a ride there. And I love to see that he's on power play 1 fairly consistently, right? But it's either him or Zach Bolduc. They kind of go back and forth, and I like both players up there. But obviously Demidov gives them kind of a real high-end skill kind of puck movement when he's up there, whereas Bolduc's sort of the hammer, right? He's the guy at the end of passes making shots. So yeah, I like the player a lot. Again, future's pretty damn bright in Montreal as well. I'd love to see them, get into the playoffs here and see what's what, get some experience for these young bucks.
All right, let's head over to St. Louis. Jordan Kyrou just 1 assist in his last 5. 15.5 minutes average time on ice, 45th shots per 60, 6th in individual expected goals for per 60, 20th in on ice expected goals for per 60 over these last 5 games. On the season, it's an 18 goal, 41 point pace in 16 minutes average time on ice, 35th shots per 60, 19th individual expected goals for per 60, 88th on ice expected goals for per 60. I've said my piece already on Kyrou. I'll just give a quick overview. I think Kyrou is terrific. I think he's having a hard time showing up to the office because his boss is taking a dump on him every time he shows up. That's just a tough place to be as any employee. And so I hope that it gets better. I honestly hope he gets traded because I think he could actually be a guy who goes point per game rest of season if he's in the right scenario. I just don't think that that's going to be under Jim Montgomery in St. Louis. I mean, if St. Louis continues to lose, if Jordan Binnington continues to cough up 7 goals a game, then, it could be a scenario in which Jim Montgomery's out the door. I don't think so because of how invested they were in bringing Montgomery over in the first place. But either way, I think I don't even know if it's a 50% chance, but a decent chance that Kyrou and Montgomery have parted ways in some way in this season, and Kyrou has a much better finish to the year. So I'm still pretty interested from that perspective. Again, it's kind of the Demidov situation, though, where if you have to drop this player, I'm not saying you can't because right now it looks pretty bleak, but the underlyings look terrific to me. So I am pretty interested in the player still. I still think the player is pretty good for fantasy hockey. I just think he's having a tough time showing up to the rink every day right now.
Ugh. I had to drop him and it killed me, right? But we can't, like 15-minute Jordan Kyrou, it's not enough, right? As with the kind of offensive opportunities that he's being afforded, which is none, right? Under Montgomery here. So yeah, this is just a player to me that I think he's streamer level at this point. I think you stream him in. If he's around, it's like a premium streamer. And then, just be ready to hang on. Like either if he gets hot or if he gets traded. But I don't know. I don't know if value is going to come this year, even if he is traded. Like if he's traded to a contender, are they going to be putting Jordan Kyrou out there for 18 to 20 minutes, power play 1? Or are they going to be using him more as like a supplementary piece, secondary scoring if they have injuries and now Kyrou's inserted into a bigger role? Like I this year might be a wash for him, but I really think that this guy has the bones of like a point per game player. He's an elite play driver, shot generator, chance generator. I don't know what's going on. I wonder if it's something between the ears with Kyrou or with the coach there in St. Louis, but it has been multiple coaches where Kyrou hasn't been able to kind of get over the hump there, right? And gain the coach's trust. So that does say something to me. But yeah, like you said, great player for fantasy. He needs minutes. And if he's not getting minutes, like you have to move on.
Right. Last one of the forwards here, Morgan Geekie. Just one assist in his last 5. He did leave that game Saturday early in the middle of the game to attend to a personal matter, so hopefully it's nothing too serious, or at least it's trending in the right direction. All the best going out to him and his family there. Assuming that that is true and Geekie is coming back, then we kind of have to evaluate this new version of Morgan Geekie as of late. He's had a tough time putting the puck in the back of the net, 171st shots per 60, 102 in on ice expected goals for per 60, now down to a 46 goal, 75 point pace on the season, still rocking a 23.6% shooting percentage on the season. I think this is just the obvious regression that we all kind of saw coming for Geekie, but also they've really, in the last, 10 to 15 games, I want to say, moved away from Geekie as being stapled to Pasternak on the top line, and they've really tried to move things around. And that, I think, has been the number one reason why Geekie's offense has gone away, just that Pasternak exposure. And I think they did really have some great chemistry together, but understandable, too, why they would try to, jumpstart some other lines as well. So, it's a spot for Geekie where I expect that, rest of season point pace, I still think he can be like a 30, 35 goal player even rest of season, but I do think we have by far seen the best of his season. Hopefully everything's going well with him, but I do think you're looking at a much different second half Morgan Geekie.
Yep. I don't have too much to add there. I really do think, moving away from Pasternak is a big change here. I didn't realize until last year, and then again this year, like what a facilitator Pasta is. Like he just had a 6 assist night, folks. Like this guy, I mean, he's just that good, right? I mean, he's obviously like he's a 60 goal scorer. He can do that, but he can also adapt. He's talented enough. I think he's like a guy like Connor McDavid or whoever. Like, oh, I'm not going to be scoring now. Okay, I'll just facilitate then. And he's setting up a guy like Morgan Geekie for just an insane like tap ins, and Morgan Geekie has a great shot as well. So all that to say, yeah, natural regression and the loss of Pasta there on his line. I think that's what's going on. And then you look at what is his personal matter, right? Like he's like, how do these guys, they're just like us, right? Like if he's going through something, like, yeah, you can sort of understand why something like this might happen. So again, all the best to him. I hope he does get back on Pasta's line. And I think that we can see the best version of Morgan Geekie.
All right, lastly here in the have-nots, we have some really high-end defensemen who have been, just kind of stinking up the joint as of
Saggy
late.
bottoms.
Roman Josi, I will say, we did have in this list, and he put together a 3-point night to lead his team to this 3-2 victory against Capitals, so maybe you want to take him out of the equation. I was going to say that, he's 15th in shots per 60, 22nd individual expected goals for per 60, 68th on ice expected goals for per 60 over the last 5 games. So his underlyings were suggesting that this was coming to him anyway, and it seems like it's arrived. So on the season, like Yossi's numbers do look quite good. 6th in shots per 60, 6th individual expected goals for per 60, 18th on ice expected goals for per 60. So yeah, I think I don't have a lot of concerns about Yossi. I do think that, he has aged a little bit here. I think we're seeing some natural regression from his heights, but he's still probably at least a top 10 fantasy defenseman rest of season, I would say, and seems to be feeling it in terms of the under the hood numbers there. The other three, Miro Heiskanen, Moritz Seider, Rasmus Dahlin, all just a single assist in their last 5 games. I want to kind of do a ranking thing here. Again, Blake, rest of the season, we'll use APL point settings, but yeah, I'm curious to get your thoughts on these 3 different players, different situations. I think Heiskanen has obviously been the overperformer on the season. Seider has had a terrific year, 57-point pace for him, 12 goals. Those would be career highs for him. And then Rasmus Dahlin, I've seen some people being disappointed with him. 8 goals, 61-point pace, and people who were expecting even more from Dahlin this year. So talk to me about these 3, and if you're redrafting today, where would you take them?
Ooh, what a loaded question. I love it. Yeah, these are all great defensemen. And I think, yeah, they're all actually having pretty good years. Besides, let's say Dahlin, maybe, who has like a 70-point expectation. He's only pacing for 61. But again, I just talked about Morgan Geekie, like dealing with some personal stuff. Rasmus Dahlin's wife had like heart surgery or something like that. He had to go back and so like 61-point pace after, maybe expecting 70 plus, like it kind of makes some sense, and that said too, Buffalo is winning games. So I feel like it's a good situation for Dahlin to sort of get his offense going again. Like you said, Miro Heiskanen, definitely the overachiever, 66-point pace. I didn't see that coming. I feel like that's reasonable, like especially if he's power play 1. That power play in Dallas is a wagon, as expected, as we've prognosticated here on the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Right? We did that. And then Moritz Seider, obviously he's being bolstered by insane block numbers, which APL scoring pretty high block points. So he's got 104 blocks in 46 games. Damn. Like Seider, and he's playing the best offensive puck that he's played in his entire career. He's pacing for 57 points. So it's funny to me that he's on this list as kind of a have-not because, yeah, he's having like an all-time season for him. He's playing amazing. He's power play 1 most of the time. So, and then Roman Josi, I echo what you said there. I think, we're seeing some age-related decline, but also kind of similar to Philip Forsberg, that team environment around him. It's not conducive to offense, right? So I think it's a little bit of a slog, but they're starting to kind of come around a little bit. I love to see a 3-point game for Roman Josi, even if it made me lose my APL matchup because Roman Josi got 3 points on a Sunday. Buddy, what are you doing? Okay, so let's redraft this. APL scoring. I'm going to have to go Rasmus Dahlin first. So I'll probably go Seider second, then I'll go Heiskanen, then I'll go Roman Josi. That's probably how I would do it.
Yeah, I think that's a fair take at this point. I will say, like, on ice, expected goals for per 60 on the season. Heiskanen, number 3.
Yeah.
Seider's number 10. Dahlin's number 8. And Josi, 18, as I mentioned. So they're all up there in terms of what they're able to do in terms of the on ice numbers. I will say Heiskanen's 15% on ice shooting percentage is insane, especially for a defenseman, especially for one who plays as much as he does, over 26 minutes on the season, average time on ice.
Yep.
So I do think that one's the most likely to regress of all these players in terms of the underlying stuff there. I think Sider could regress a little bit here, but I do think that he's having a legit step up this year. He's getting a lot of love from the analytics community as a legit Norris candidate this year as well. And I love to see that. I love to see it when an already terrific player takes another step into elite status. And I do believe that's what we're seeing from Sider this year in terms of even his two-way play. Like, I think his defensive game has even stepped up to where he's getting into that kind of where Hedman was at in the peak of his powers, where he's just so big and so much reach, and Sider adds an element of nastiness to all of that too, which makes him so tough to play against. So fun to see from a really terrific player there. Darlene, I think I would agree. If redrafting, I would still take Darlene first amongst these guys. I think I would go Sider second, then probably Yossi third, and then Heiskanen fourth, just because of that on ice shooting percentage being so high. I think it's mostly warranted, but also probably of any of the numbers that I see for any of these defensemen, the most likely to regress moving forward. So not too surprised to see him have just a little bit of a slower stretch here because of that either. That all being said, in terms of the underlying numbers, aside from Yossi, I think Darlene's got the best underlying numbers in the last 5 games here. 26 shots per 60, 15th individual expected goals for per 60, 26th on ice. So I think he is pretty likely to turn things around here shortly as well. All right, we got through the have-nots. If we didn't talk about a player that you still want to hear about, make sure to join me for Monday's 8:30 p.m. EST live stream of Puzzling Players. I take requests from the Apples Ginos Discord server. I usually put out a call for that about noon or shortly thereafter on Monday afternoons. And then I talk about the most requested players. So come join me, 8:30 p.m. EST live stream right here on the Apples Ginos YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about the environment. What is wrong with you? We've got 4 teams here. We're not going to dig too deep on any one of them probably, but I did want to talk about some of these teams and the overall situations that they're finding themselves in and what that's meaning for fantasy here. So the teams are Winnipeg, New Jersey, Anaheim, and the New York Rangers. Winnipeg and New Jersey played each other today, and it was a sloppy affair.
Barn burner.
It was kind of back and forth, but it was kind of like a barn burner because neither team was doing the right things a lot of the time, especially in their own zone. And so you kind of got a little microcosm of why the seasons might be going the way they are for both teams. Winnipeg's numbers are pretty horrific. Last 5, 28th in all strengths, expected goals for 27th and 5v5 expected goals for.
Yeah.
On the season, those numbers are actually even worse. 31st in all strengths, 30th in 5v5. They're doing much better defensively, so they're still doing a pretty good job on the defensive side of the puck, but they're really struggling to get a lot of offense out of that. Basically anybody outside of the top 3 guys there in Scheifele, Connor, and Velarde. So they've moved Velarde to a second line. That actually got some traction this week with Perfetti and Taves as the other 2 members there. Maybe that's a bit of a panacea moving forward, but quick thoughts on Winnipeg here, Blake.
Yeah, they have no depth, right? They have one line. If they put them together, right, they've been kind of breaking them up. But Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, Gabe Velarde, that line is actually second best in the entire league in expected goals for. Like raw numbers, expected goals for, they're second best in the entire league behind Lehkonen, McKinnon, and Natchez. So that's great, right? But when your 2C is Jonathan Taves, oh no, it's not great, right? And I feel like they're still overachieving, like they're finishing at like in a top 10 rate. But their expected goals are terrible, like you said. So, and you got Hellebuck, who's kind of holding the fort there, but I think it could be a lot worse. We're looking at a team kind of on the downward here, unless they, get an influx of, some middle 6-4s that can actually do something. I feel like it's just going to continue to get worse here. And this is probably the team that they should have been. When you move a guy like Nick Ehlers, I think he really made that second line pop, right? Gave him a real threat there. And also on their power play, they had a great power play with Nick Ehlers out there. And now with him gone, it feels like the wheels have fallen off, hasn't it?
Yeah. it definitely feels like that. Velarde is the one that I'm kind of the most concerned about. If he is going to stick on a second line, just being away from Connor and Shifley at even strength might
Yep.
loosen. Yeah, it might just lower his ceiling rest of season if that sticks for any length of time. Move over to New Jersey. This is actually the one that I think should rebound the most, eighth in the last 5 games in all strengths, expected goals for, 11th in 5v5. And so, yeah, I do think that'll improve. The problem is that they are 23rd in opponents in allowing expected goals for
Mhm.
at all strengths and 29th in 5v5. So, yeah, they're giving up more than they're getting, basically, at this point. And so it's leading to some of that barn burner hockey, as we mentioned, but obviously lately it has not gone their way in pretty spectacular fashion. I also think there's a human element to this. We talked about Dougie Hamilton. Unless
Yep.
he's like a total pariah in that dressing room, you have to imagine that he's not happy, and that's creating some, just bad vibes in general. You can't get away from that kind of stuff as a team. And so I do hope, just for everybody involved, really, in New Jersey as a team, that that gets resolved quickly. I think that Jack Hughes is probably not at 100% in terms of shooting the puck. I think he's still generating a lot. His feet look fine. He's moving. He still looks like the fastest player on the ice most of the time when he's out there. So that part is still there. It's just whether they have the horses to get it done and to actually put the puck in the net at the end of the day and to kind of outscore their defensive problems, because their defensive problems are really real to me at this point in time.
Yeah, absolutely. And just their finishing ability at 5-on-5. It's
Yep.
been atrocious, dead last in the league. The New Jersey Devils, dead last in the league in finishing. So that's pretty harrowing stuff. I mean, for your New Jersey Devils stocks there. But like you said, I feel like there's better times coming, right? But this is one of those cases where it's like, you need to play a little bit better defensively. Like play on the other side of the puck, turn them over, get them in transition, use your speed, and you got to finish, right? These guys are not finishing. Jack Hughes, like he's had some assists here, but like 1 goal since he's been back. That's not going to cut it, you know? So, and Timo Meyer, well, like what's he doing? Like you got guys like Dawson Mercer and Nason before he was injured. Those are the guys getting you your goals. Like that show ain't no good, guys. We need the big boys to get the biz. So I don't know. Yeah, all that to say, I do think they're going to be better offensively, but it's been rough.
Yeah, let's move over to Anaheim. Last 5 games, 21st in all strengths, expected goals for, 14th in 5v5. On the defensive side, 30th in all strengths opponents, expected goals for, and 22nd in 5v5. So they're definitely allowing more than they're getting on the season. 30th in opponents all strengths, expected goals for, and 31st in 5v5. So it's not just the last 5 games either. It's just they're scoring less, generating less now than they were at the beginning of the year. I do think that I'm gonna assign some blame to Joel Quenville here. I think that he's just like been mashing these lines together. He had something that worked, and it wasn't working for whatever reason for, I don't know what the stretch was, like 3, 4 games. And he threw the lines into the blender, and he's never taken them out of the blender since. And I
Yeah.
feel like this is a young team that needs to get some consistency, and he's not offering that to them right now. The last game, it was Killorn, Carlson, Seneca, Granlund, McTavish, Gauthier, Kreider, Strom, Paling, like just weird stuff. I also think that Troy Terry being out the last little bit has also hurt them. I think that that's a really underrated player for how they work best. I think he needs to be there with Carlson. Their chemistry was undeniable at the
Yep.
beginning of the year. I thought Gauthier, I think, is kind of a force unto his own, and I think he's gonna, get his speed up and get those shots on goal when, regardless of who he's playing with. So I think he's the biggest wild card that you can put with anybody. But I would just kind of go back to the original lines that were working and let them work it out for a bit. So I am gonna, from my basement here, I'm gonna tell Joe Quenville how to do his job and say he needs to get some consistency for these guys moving forward. I do think they'll figure it out, but it has been a tough go as of late. They've also done a 1A, 1B situation with the power play, and surprisingly, that hasn't worked at all, because that always works, doesn't it, Blake?
I've never seen it work. I mean, what are we doing here? Like, okay, if you score, you get to stay on. Like, what? No. But yeah, with Anaheim, clearly the offense is great and it has been great this year, but they cannot outscore their problems. It's not sustainable, right? They're
Yeah.
hemorrhaging goals. They're dead last in the league in goals against at 5-on-5. That's not winning hockey, right? So they got to figure it out. I agree with you. The lines, I don't like that. I feel like with Granlund out, they had a better kind of idea of what their identity is. And when, we talked about this in the offseason, as Quenneville being a coach that would lean on his vets, right? And you got a guy like Granlund, you got a guy like Kreider in here. And Granlund, especially right now, he's really leaning on Granlund, and it's not working, right? Lean on the young guys, lean on Leo Carlson. Like, let's see what this kid can do, right? I think he's good enough. Lean on Mason McTavish. So yeah, I like Granlund as a fantasy asset, but he's not even close to the ceiling of guys like Leo Carlson and Mason McTavish. So all that said, yeah, they need to stop the puck from going in the net. Lucas Dostal has been terrible as of late as well. Yeah, it's just been a comedy of errors for Anaheim. And yeah, I think this is kind of closer to the team they are, right? And what we saw in the first half of the year was sort of them overachieving and showing, flashes of the brilliance and skill that some of these young players have.
For sure. Leo Carlson, goal and an assist, 5 shots in 20 minutes in his last game. So hopefully that portends things to come. Last one here, New York Rangers, last 5 games, 22nd in all strengths, expected goals for, 23rd in 5v5. On the other side of the puck, 21st in opponents, expected goals for at all strengths, and 22nd in 5v5. On the season, they're a little better in all those numbers, but not by much. They're very much middle of the pack numbers and worse as of late. What do we make of the Rangers at this point in the season? It really felt like it should get better. Mike Sullivan, established coach in the league, obviously coached a lot of Stanley Cup winning teams there in Pittsburgh. And it really feels like he hasn't been able to get this group pulling all in the same direction at the same time. I also do kind of think that they struggle from some of the Winnipeg problems where beyond the top end here, and granted they have 2 real lines here in with the Rangers, but beyond that, I think they're getting pretty much nothing in negative results from the bottom line. So if either of the top 2 lines have a bad night, then they just get caved in overall. Yeah, I'm curious your thoughts as to what's going on here. Obviously, Adam Fox has missed a bunch of time. That hasn't helped, and he's back on IR at the moment. So where are we at with the Rangers? Can we expect more for fantasy purposes?
Yeah, I like what you said about the bottom 6 there. I think that's absolutely true. They're getting nothing. Like, good teams have a good third line that can chip in, that can also shut down the top line. Like right now, New York's third line is Gabe Perreault, Noah Laba, and Taylor Radish. Like, who, what, and where? Like, who are these people? They're actual players in the NHL, folks. But yeah, I think, Mike Sullivan has done a good job defensively with the Rangers. They look really good, especially at 5-on-5. They've been able to suppress a lot of chances, and they look really good. They're 5th best in goals against at 5-on-5, but it's the finishing at 5-on-5 that's been really atrocious. And they haven't been able to put it together. And I think that is some of what you're saying there. Like, if you don't have a bottom 6, like you shut down the top 6, there's nothing doing there, right? They're not getting any contributions from anybody else. So, and like you said as well, Adam Fox being out, I think Adam Fox is one of the best actual defensemen in the entire league. Not for fantasy, right? He's a great defenseman for fantasy, but actual defenseman in the entire league. And to have a guy like that out, for big portions of your season, I think it makes a huge difference in terms of just putting these guys in good positions at 5-on-5 to actually finish chances. So, in terms of future outlook, I think we like our top 6. They're still going to be fine. Even JT Miller, right? They're still going to be fine. He's going to give us what we need. But I think for them to actually turn it around as a team, we need Adam Fox back in here. And yeah, they got to finish some chances here. Guys like Alexis Lafreniere not doing a damn thing out there with a ton of opportunity. Even Artemi Panarin, like there's trade rumors around Panarin now. That's wild stuff to me. Like, do you think Panarin gets traded, Nate?
I mean, if things go further south and if he's not looking at re-signing long-term, or if they don't want to re-sign him long-term, like stranger things have happened. I'm not going to rule that out. I think as well, it can't be overstated how little puck moving they have on the back end.
Yeah.
Like without Fox in the lineup, their defense is Gavrikov, Braden Schneider, Will Borgen, Matthew Robertson, Carson Soucy, Scott Morrow.
Oh God! We'll get Morrow in there. What are we doing? He gets to play the right way, Nate.
Yes, you must learn how to play the right way, even if you're the only player on your team capable of making a pass. But yeah. Anyway, let's move over to Under the Hood. because I just really want to talk about William Eklund. This is a player I think you've been higher on than me in the past, Blake, but he's really turned the spotlight on himself for me personally over the last 10 games. 20 minutes, 49 seconds average time on ice. He's got 3 goals and 7 points in that time. 17th in shots per 60 at 11.2. 14th individual scoring chances for per 60 at 13.0. And third in the league in on ice scoring chances for per 60 behind only Hyman and McDavid in that time frame, ahead of Celebrini, his line mate. So really good stuff the last 10 games for William Eklund. On the season now, just about 20 minutes average time on ice, 91st shots per 60, 71st individual scoring chances for per 60, 61st individual expected goals for per 60, 65th on ice expected goals for per 60, just a 58% IPP, 10.3% shooting percentage, 11.2% on ice shooting percentage gets him to a 23 goal, 59 point pace. And most of that was away from Celebrini, especially while Will Smith was in the lineup. Now Eklund really does seem to be finding a lot of chemistry with Celebrini. They're playing off each other really well. I'm really impressed with Eklund's puck protection, which is also a strength of Celebrini's game. Eklund is not a big dude, but he gets low and he's hard to get off the puck. And so I think that they're really finding some chemistry together at this point in time. He's on the top power play. He's getting huge minutes. I don't see how that changes rest of season. I think Eklund could be a guy who could score at a 70-plus point pace rest of season, and I would not be surprised.
Oh, I love to hear this. 70-point Eklund. I'm here for it. Great player. And I mean, it just says so much about Celebrini as well. Like, I feel like we're talking about a new San Jose Shark every week. And the common denominator is Celebrini, right? This guy, remember, like back in the day with Gretzky, you're like, yeah, he makes players around him better. And that's what Macklin Celebrini does in spades. And this guy's already a really talented player, William Eklund. So if he gets any continued access to Celebrini, I love a 70-point pace rest of the season.
All right, last order of business here is to recap the head-to-head streamer deathmatch. Unfortunately,
God.
Blake took Mason Marchment, and he did not play a single game in the week. And so I don't even know what Evangelista did, but he at least got some points. And so it's a
we should check that.
Win.
Did he get a shot at least? I don't know.
He did. But yeah, a default win for me this week, leading 8-4-1 on the week. On
2 default wins on the season, folks. All right.
All right.
Asterisk.
You had some last year.
Yep. Okay.
We don't need to dig too deep into the archives here, but let's just say that things are coming up Nate this year a little bit more often. I'm not.
It's about time. It's really about time.
So next week, Blake's got Vasily Podkolzin with the 5 games for Edmonton. I've got Jake DeBrusk hoping that Vancouver does Blake dirty one more time this year.
I'm sure it'll happen.
If you made it this far in the episode, click the link in the description. Join the Discord community. If you mind, like, rate, review, subscribe, comment, and all of that really does help us out. But that is going to be all that we've got for this episode. So hopefully it brought you some value, helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick and 18 Skaters. Many thanks to Matt Creamer for supplying music for the podcast. That's it, folks. Much love.